All right, we got a big Jerry Dipoto, Mariner of President Operations, not on this show, but he did go on Seattle Sports 710 to give us all of his insights on what's going to happen at the trade deadline. Took some responsibility. Also, did he? But also, was he poking a bear with his comments about the Houston Astros? We're going to talk about that. And also, Alex Rodriguez wanting to mend ties with the Seattle fan base and the Seattle Mariners. And you know what time it is. That's right. It is trade deadline season. The Mariners and Jesus, just about every single team in the major leagues are looking to upgrade their team or not sell. It also seems like the name Jazz Chisholm is coming up a lot when talking about what the Mariners are going to go after. But according to Ryan Divish, that is not the guy. And we're going to be talking about all of that, plus a lot more, including the All-Star Game fallout, right after this.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
All right, you are listening or checking out the Rye Bread and Mustard of Mariners podcast at Down on the Docks on the other side of the tracks, 5-star dive bar podcast about your beloved first place by one game over the Houston Astros, Seattle Mariners that are about to kick off the second half of the baseball season, or I should say post All-Star break season. It's not really completely in half. Anyways, that's what they like to call it. So we're going to go with it. And with me from Scottsdale, Arizona, AKA, if you're watching this on YouTube, Hot Dogs from Heaven, we got CJ. What's up?
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm excited that the All-Star Game festivities are over. I really enjoyed some things. There's some topics that happened since our last episode, right after the home run derby, and we'll get to all that at the end, but it's back to business, right? We got the Houston Astros coming into town. We got all kinds of content. We got a A-Rod interview. But let's start off with this Jerry Dipoto going on 710 Seattle Sports. Again, that's our president of baseball operations. If you're just going, you know what, I haven't paid attention to Mariners stuff in about a decade. Well, he's back on 710. He hasn't been there a lot this season, probably because of, I don't know, the 54 stuff and all of that last year. I know he was weekly going on there. What was it? Every Thursday last year, he had the Jerry Dipoto show. That doesn't seem to be a thing. So this was a bit more of a rarity, more of a special appearance, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I guess it's good timing, right? So it's the All-Star game. You'd expect that GMs are having conversations. We know that we're trying to have as many conversations as possible to get that, the help our offense. I don't think we necessarily got the answers that we were looking for, and probably not expecting much, out of the interview because he's pretty quiet when it comes to that. But I think just kind of netting it out from that standpoint, it seems like it's going to be really difficult at the deadline to actually accumulate any type of bats as is right now.
Yeah, but listen, hey, let's be fair. He answered the question when he asked what needed to happen. I think he leaned on, we need to make more contact.
Yeah.
That was the big reveal. I mean, he did take responsibility of like pretty much in a roundabout way. He doesn't want to throw people under the bus, but like he was like, yep, it's my fault. I kind of got that he was dancing around like, hey, the personnel that we leaned on is not the right personnel. The approach, I know that they didn't really go into like, hey, what were you thinking with this offensive coordinator? How did we go from, saying we want to get away from the strikeouts to we are going to set a record. He did take responsibility, but I did feel like he was pointing at like, hey, this is a league-wide thing and baseball has changed, and you're right. And then basically, what are we going to do about it? Well, it's not as easy as it's going to happen. He kept on being like, we can't snap our fingers and it's going to change. So what does that say to you?
It's kind of it's what I've been fearing, right? Like I have this. It's going to be a nothing burger at the deadline. The team that we have, it's a team that we have. We're just have to deal with it this year. That's the unfortunate thing, but that's how I felt the conversations and what we're going to see as fans going into the second half. So hopefully we turn it around and we'll see what that is. But I don't know if there's going to be a big splash like we're hoping for.
Yeah, I think talking about the big splash is more or less, especially if you're a content creator, it's more or less just to talk about it, to fill space. I Unfortunately, I agree with you on that. I know that he did talk about one thing that I will agree, and I can see this happening, is that the bullpen is going to get healthier.
Yeah.
Just bringing Santos back is huge. I agree with him, but that's something we already knew. I do think probably have a couple of arms still down there that we'll probably see. I agree with that. But as far as internally turning it around, I look through all of the prospects that we have, what's going on AA, AAA. As far as hitting, like I think most Mariners fan goes, well, why don't we bring this guy up? Why isn't Lazaro Montes? Well, it's such a big jump, first of all. And I think if there was anybody else down there that was going to give us this offensive spark, they would be on the roster right now. I know Locklear, we had a nice little look at him, but I still don't feel like that's enough. I think that's kind of just a lateral move. If you sent Canzone down or something like that and you bring him up, you're just kind of grasping at straws at that point.
Yeah, it's just like Clase too, right? You look at Clase's numbers in Tacoma and he's killing it, but then he comes up to the show and doesn't really have the same hitting stats that he has down in AAA, and so it's tough, right? Like you said, it's a big jump, and it's even a big jump from AAA to the big leagues.
Yeah, it's like when you watch people kill it at spring training, and then it's like you said, a nothing burger, a double stack nothing burger. Particularly, I mean, I get it though. There has to be some responsibility with like Julio and Cal, and I do think Julio and Cal are going to have big second halves. They seem like they keep on getting it going. And we just talked about it in the last episode. I mean, Cal's, this close to being an elite catcher in this league. He's right there at the, like we said, we think he should have been probably on the all-star team, but that's just not the way they were constructing the roster. He leads in almost every freaking category, or he's top 5 or top 10. He's the shit, and Julio is our star. And yes, if you get bigger contributions from him, as we know, hitting is contagious. It's all the other guys that I don't want to say I really have big fears of. I'm not sure they're capable of turning it around in the way that Dipoto was kind of talking today. He wasn't really putting people over. He wasn't like, listen, Polanco's always, look at the back of his stats or look at the back of his baseball card. Garver, I don't think he saw that coming. But then you think about it, Garver never was a great hitter at T-Mobile Park. I don't think he had a hit, if that was correct, coming into this season. He never had a hit at T-Mobile Park. I kind of feel like Ty France is what you're getting with Ty France. You get these little spurts and stuff like that, but it's hard to look at those players and say they're going to turn it around. Now you can't really do any worse than what they're doing now. That's the plus side.
Yeah. Well, they just need to. I mean, if contact is the theme of the second half, they need to really jump on that. Have a players only meeting just to talk about contact, and then when they're dancing in the field after a win, just like start chanting contact and see if we can get more contact out of the bats.
Players only meeting, somebody should be sitting there. I don't know. Edgar comes in and you just kind of soft toss it and you go, see, ball hit. It's contact.
Just like old school Ballard hitting against the fence, just.
exactly,
Well,
exactly.
perfect.
One thing I did take from this interview that I think we ought to mention, but he was basically saying like, "Look, we don't look at Houston like we used to. We're not scared of them. This isn't the team that he. I think he said this isn't the team from 5 years ago." Which I was going, hold on, wait, 2 years ago they were pretty unbeatable. And they
Yeah.
whooped our asses. And they've been whipping our asses, and they're coming into town this week. They just closed the gap to a 1-game lead for the Mariners in the last month. They could leave with the series win being tied with us. With a series sweep, they could be up 2 games. Why poke, a sleeping giant, Jerry?
Yeah.
I mean, it
It,
seems like bulletin board material if I am a Houston Astro.
yep, absolutely, man. I like the sense of confidence, but at the same time, I don't know if it's worth mentioning that when what 2 weeks ago we had a 10-game lead, now we're down to one, and we could leave being in second place. Not worth like stoking that bear for sure, poking that bear
Objects in the mirror
closer
may
than they
seem
appear.
closer than they appear, but no, they just stick your head out the window. They're right there. They're like the big
Yeah,
angry biker on the highway coming
yeah,
behind you.
yeah,
Not to just jump on Jerry and stuff. I know, like, listen, at the end of the day, it's ownership. Uh, I wanna make I wanna steal somebody's tagline or whatever. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase from WWE, WWF at the time. Everybody's got a price. And I know that he's saying that the market is going to be tough, especially because what he says, what every team is pretty much in it. I mean, outside of Chicago White
yeah. I
Sox.
think there's so many teams that are within 3 games of the playoffs, and I think there's only maybe 4 or 5 that are blocked, right? Or like pretty much done. That's the White Sox, A's, Miami, for example, probably Colorado.
Yeah. And these other teams that they're not going to give up this, they're not going to move anybody. That's not what they're doing. It's like everybody's got a price. Like the
Yeah.
$1 Million Man says, everybody's got a price. And hopefully ownership and them can get together and make that happen again. Probably not going to happen, but let's today we're on the clock, right? We're officially in trade deadline territory. Well, now with that being said, let's say nothing gets made, and again, not to pick on Jerry or Scott and everybody else, but let's just say hypothetically they don't make the playoffs. This would be second year in a row you don't make the playoffs after building on what happened in 2022 and being all in. And again, yeah, ownership has a big part of this. Are they on the hot seat? Do we see a change in leadership, whether it's in the dugout or in the president of operations or GM, if they don't make this happen?
I mean, honestly, I don't see it, right? 'Cause I think it comes from ownership, right? Like, it just doesn't feel like ownership wants to win right now. And so I don't think they want to rock the boat and cut ties with them. Like if we had new ownership, I would think if we were in any other city, both of them would be gone, some time ago. I don't see it happening.
I agree. I think if you were in any other city that was really committed to winning, you would have seen these changes. And I'm not advocating to, hey, we got to get rid of them. I'm just going, it's pretty rare. I mean, I do the other pod with a Yankees guy, and all these guys, they're just drooling with their forks and knives to get rid of Boone for a long time. And this has been like the first time that organization's really not done that. And I'm just
Right.
going, hey, that's what we do all the time. I mean,
All the
Scott
time.
Service Scott Service is what just about to catch in a year or so how long Lou Piniella was here. So I mean, that's something to think about. And you look at Lou Piniella's uh resume, 2 ALCS appearances, 4 playoff appearances. Of course, the talent was different that he had, but just saying, with Scott, I feel like if there was one of the two that maybe could change or be on the hot seat, I think it would be Scott. I don't think they'll change with what they're doing as far as operations. But
Yeah.
yes, there always seems to be a little bit too much of a focus on what we have as far as assets down and the minor leagues versus what is going on here. It is always selling the hype, always selling for the future instead of right now. And you can just tell right now by the way they are marketing what they picked up here in the draft more so than putting the focus on like what's ahead, even when you go to their website.
Yep. It's all about the draft.
It's all about what's going to happen in 2029. I guess that's
Yeah.
going to be the new thing. You know what's so fun about Dive Bar podcast is there's also like a lot of people that come over and talk to you and tell you their stories. And there's a couple of ladies over here. I'd say they were in their 60s. They come over, they're asking what the hell we're doing and why we're in their dive bar. Says, what's this about? And I'm like, all right, it's the Mariners podcast. She goes, me and my ex-husband used to have season tickets back in the Kingdom. And I'm like, all right, that's nice. She goes, you want to hear a story? My ex-husband, caught Ken Griffey Jr.'s, and we got to fact check this. He says it was his 100th home run in Major League Baseball. That somebody puts a sticker on his ball. The Mariners wanted the ball, and I guess they're lawyers, so they're like, oh, no. That's not how it happens. They took it down to their law offices, and they kept it in a safe. But then the death threats started coming in.
Okay, so before we get to that, where did they catch it? In right center field in the bleachers above the big blue wall?
I didn't ask because she immediately went into the death threats. Went from the death threats to, anyways, we went down there, sorted that out, and we got a picture.
So the Mariners were sending death threats?
I don't know who was sending the death threats, but she said they sorted it out.
So you got here at what time? About 6:30?
And this story was already lambasted into me by 6:32.
So they were feeling good?
Apparently. Also, another rare interview that we got to see, or hear, I should say, on 710. The A-Rod interview. Pretty interesting. A-Rod, obviously very polished as like a politician-y kind of guy, very smooth on the mic, always has his answers. He has studied his public relations, definitely. Now he had a lot of things to say good about the Mariners. I really agreed with him. He was talking about, now in baseball, the swinging and missing and the average not meaning anything is complete bullshit. So I'm really on board with that. I'm on board with, he's not, reinventing the wheel of going like, listen, this pitching, the starting pitching and your hitting and your contact hitting, that is what's going to make things work when it is going down the stretch in September, or if you get to October. He had good things to say about like Julio, and expects big things from him and knows that he's going to like smooth things out and get things going. And then it got to like, hey, here's why we really have him here on the radio. And that was about his time here in Seattle, about the contract. And he definitely seems like he is making a bit of an angle to mend the fences here with the Seattle fans.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, like time heals all wounds, right? So it's almost about that time. The time has passed, and talking about potentially retiring his jersey. I remember when he came back and go to games, and we would just boo so loud for him. It's almost like the Houston Astros when they come to town. That was the treatment that A-Rod got. But it sounds like we're getting to that point now. Like, hey, let's see if he's willing to come back and see if we're able to embrace him, and if we would consider retiring his jersey. I don't know if we go that far, but I mean, I think like you and I were talking about, like, he's probably the best shortstop that we've seen in a Mariners uniform.
Oh, yes. And even on the stat boards, I mean, whenever they're like comparing anything that any shortstop has done, and to be fair, we really haven't had a long tenured shortstop, but even what A-Rod did in from 95 through 2000, so 6 seasons that he played in here, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000, still can't be touched. When you're making your all Mariners teams, Alex Rodriguez is on there. But he is, as Vlad has brought up to me, he goes, as long as I've known you, Myron, as a Mariners fan, um, the one guy you guys just seem not to talk about, or that it just didn't happen, or you just kind of like steer away from it, is Alex Rodriguez. And I think there is some truth to that. And I think it's the truth to it because it did hurt at the time. He, followed up Junior, who put in his time here. And that was hard to see. But Junior went back to where he always wanted to play. He wanted to go home. A-Rod's was treated differently because of the huge contract that Texas came. And he gave the same answer I've heard him say over and over, like, hey, I did this for my mom. I did this for my family. You never know what's going to happen. I think,
Well,
though, if he was really being honest, I don't know if he'd do it over again that way. But at the time, that's
yeah.
what he was doing.
Yeah, I mean, the Mariners were outbidded by $200 million in that contract, right? So, I mean, that's a huge chunk of change. I mean, I would take a few boos to go play for the Rangers for, $252 million at the time.
I do remember when that happened and he left, and you're right, and he did come back and people were throwing money.
Yeah.
That should have been an it should have been an example of what the Mariners ownership should have done. And listen, and at the time, like he was talking about on that interview, I thought it was interesting. He goes, now players, it's more celebrated if you get this huge contract.
Yeah.
And at the
Yeah.
time, it wasn't. But yes, you'd never seen anything like that. I remember it was happened right about Christmas, didn't it? And I just remember seeing
Yeah.
the little ticker rolling across at the Christmas party or whatever, seeing that and just being like, is that right?
Yeah. Is that correct? There's no way it's that much. I'm like, holy cow.
Outbid by $200 million.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
unbelievable.
and to be fair, it was too big of a contract that Texas ended up having to get out of it. They had
Yeah.
to,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's the part that I never can really forgive, is that one, or not forgive, but just it's hard to get over, is that you just knew somehow he was going to end up on the Yankees. That was the one thing when it
Yeah.
happened. I was like, okay, well, at least he's not on the Yankees. Then the Aaron Boone injury happens a couple years later. Oh, we need a third baseman. And
Yeah.
A-Rod said, I'll play third base. But yeah, I think it's time to bring him back and celebrate what he did while he was here. As far as retiring his number, that's kind of a bit of a stretch. I know he has number 3. He couldn't wear 3 on the Yankees because that's Babe Ruth's number, obviously.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't know about retiring his number, but then again, there's an argument. If you are the organization's all-time something where his numbers have stood for 25 years, he's checking off these boxes of like, oh yeah, that's why you would do this. But he's always going to have that stain, more so of him leaving than what he did when he was a Mariner, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the Mariners organization would have to do some marketing publicity and kind of work around that to actually get the fans on board. Like, I don't know if it's bobbleheads or whatever it may be, but I don't know if the fan base right now is ready to embrace in that type of retirement type ceremony. But there'd have to be more positive spins from the organization to have him come back like that.
And here's another thought I had on it while you were saying that, when we were talking about the Mariners fan base. Let's just think about all these younger fans, this
Yep.
new generation of fans. It might not bother them.
Yeah.
It might not bother them as maybe people around our age that we're like, hey, we remember when he came up straight out of high school. He was on deck when Edgar hit the
Yeah.
double down
Yeah.
the line. We watched his career when Griffey left. We were like, okay, you're our guy. And then a year
Yeah.
later, he was gone, and Ichiro came in here. So it's a little bit different, probably. But
Yeah.
it is interesting to see what happens. But definitely, I think this was the first step going on the Brock and Salk show, and I'm pretty interested to see what happens here. I'm sure if you get the nod from Griffey and you get the nod from all the other guys, which he was putting over all those guys in the interview, and you also, it wasn't just like he's saying this on the Mariners flagship station. I've heard him have these comments,
Yep.
outside the Mariner world. So that's something. So that's something we'll have to just see.
Yep.
And I'm sure if the Mariners, I was gonna say this, I think if like the Mariners return to the playoffs and Fox is covering them and things like that, that's probably gonna help that out as well.
Yep. Yeah. It's one of those things. It just have to be a media blitz, I think, just to get everyone on board. More or less like one of those older players coming back just to be recognized within the organization. And like you said, it's going to be the older fan base that's going to know what he did for us versus the younger generation. But I think needs to be a little bit of a build up if we do something to bring him back.
Yeah, and trust me, the his he has the steroid cloud
that
around
too.
him,
We didn't talk about that, but yeah, it's true.
and he's got
I think
the
everyone did at that time.
and he's got the screwed things up with J-Lo cloud around him. I think the Mariner one's a bit down there.
Yeah, right. And then the whole Derek Jeter and him not getting along and all that stuff. So there's a lot there.
He's got a list. Like he's one of those guys. He's the greatest player probably to not really have like a full-on home. But I have to admit, when I listen to him on Fox, man, he's really good on the mic. Very smooth. He knows his baseball. Never really touts his own personal accomplishments, always gives credit to like hardworking stuff and always talks about working hard. So, I mean, he does say the right things.
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 AMA Supercross Tour, Motorcycle Mania, on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward, former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
Let's get to the meat and potatoes of this. The trade deadline has, I'd say, officially begun, right? I mean, that is the story. As we were saying, probably it's going to be a nothing burger, as you were saying. But it seems like there is one player that is getting a little bit of, I don't know. There's something there, and that's with Jazz Chisholm of the Miami Marlins. I was listening to Puck. What is it? The Daily Puck, or it's Jason Puckett's show. He had Ryan Divish on, and it was pretty interesting when they were talking about this. And Ryan Divish seems to have the notion that jazz is all about jazz. It seemed like it was equating it to kind of like a Winker, or if I want to remember somebody like a Malik Smith, doesn't seem like a great locker room guy.
Yeah, I've read that too. Like it's even coming up across, like even the Yankees are in on potentially trading for him, but then it's just like everyone's saying like he's just doesn't have a great reputation with his teammates.
Yeah, and even too, I'm pulling up his
like a nightmare in the clubhouse. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd want that already in your locker. I mean, like it took a long time to get rid of people that were in the locker room prior to Dipoto's tenure, and then you had the Winker thing. I thought Malik Smith was a bit like that too, or just didn't seem like he cared. But then I also go and look at what he's doing this season so far. He's hitting 249. 12 home runs, 42 RBIs, OPS of 728. Sure, we have such a low bar to go, oh, well, that would improve the Mariners offense. He just doesn't jump out to me as something that's really, really going to impact what's going on. Maybe I'm wrong. But I know, he had that breakout season in a bit. I don't want to say breakout season. He had a pretty good 22 and a 23, but still you're looking at this at him, and it's just these aren't Vladdy Guerrero Jr. numbers. These aren't Luis Robert Jr. numbers. And unfortunately, if somebody's going to make a huge impact on this with this lineup that we have now, I think you have to get somebody like that. That's the only thing that's really going to impact. Also, I don't know what you're giving up for Jazz, but what are your thoughts on him besides the
Yeah, I mean,
attitude?
it's just I feel like he's a Florida guy, so I don't know how you would do in the Pacific Northwest. Like, I don't know if he'd like being up here. I think what would be telling is how's his relationship with Julio, if there's a relationship. I don't know. He just doesn't really. I mean, other than knowing that he was on he was a cover athlete for the baseball video game. I mean, that's about as much as I know about him. I don't know. He doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't really spark. Doesn't really check the boxes for me. I mean, other than just he is a flashy guy and has a lot of charisma. But I don't know if we need that. We need someone who has a lot of contact.
And you're saying Vladdy Guerrero Jr., you don't think he's going anywhere?
I don't know. I mean, I just the stuff I read and been seeing, like Baltimore. I'm sorry, Baltimore. Toronto's invested so much of their time on Bo and Vladimir, and have so much control from a contract perspective, and they're like the face of baseball, and they're not necessarily out of it. So I don't see them moving either of them at the deadline.
And it seems like the Luis Roberts thing has quieted down. And when things kind of quiet down, I start to get nervous because that's when
Then
the
it might
Yankees.
actually happen. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's scary. Like anytime, and I've said this before, anytime that a team like the Dodgers have a key injury,
Yep.
the Yankees, I mean, if you talk to any Yankee fan, they're basically Stanton's hurt, been hurt. And basically, if it's not Soto and it's not Judge, the rest of their lineup's not doing anything. So they're buying.
Yeah.
Houston is rumored to be they're going to be aggressive. Texas Rangers might not be so aggressive because they kind of have the same problems with the root sports bullshit. But there's again, and then you have this log jam, especially in the National League. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's what I mean. You got to really think about who are the guys that are available, and if as a fan, you need to root for some or a few or at least one of these teams to just have a slide here right out the gate. I mean, that's about
Yeah.
your only hope.
And I also wonder if where you're playing, who you're playing with, plays into it a little bit. Say it's Lou Rob or Lou Bob, and the Dodgers are in play for him, and it turns out that I don't know, he's the somehow work out a deal that doesn't make any sense, but he ends up going to the Dodgers when we could have given up maybe less or something for him, or I just wonder if that plays into it, like where are the players going to play and how much he would like going there, and I wonder if just the issues that we're seeing with T-Mobile Park and hitters not being able to hit, even good hitters that were great hitters before basically come to our stadium to die, is what it feels like.
God, and it's hard to argue that.
Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast.
We have the one and only Mr. Tom Hutler. Do you have any of your favorite stories from the Kingdom?
There was a time we had an earthquake, and so they were going to evacuate the building. So I was like getting up to go leave. They go, "No, you can't go. You got to read these safety things." It's like,
do we need to tell them that there's smoking's only on the exterior ramps?
yeah. And Dave came shooting past. He signed off. I'm going, wait, I'm the only one here.
Listen and subscribe to Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast, wherever you get your podcast.
T-Mobile Park 25th anniversary. They're commemorating it this Friday with a firework celebration. Happy anniversary, T-Mobile Park. Oh yeah, by the way, your place sucks to hit. And that's just the transition into the article, Adam Jude, the interview with former Mariner, current Dodger, current reigning home run derby champion, Teoscar Hernandez. And now he says that again, it's the batter's eye, the way the batter's box is aligned with the pitcher's mound. He felt like everything was sideways. In a nutshell, he said he's not the only player that has said this. The other players that have come into town for a series kind of say the same thing, that it's just really hard or uncomfortable to hit there. He said he tried many things. I and you and I had heard something about this or something like this from Bill Kruger. He's
Yep.
kind of always talked about that. Now we're seeing it. Now it's becoming more of a story. But what's interesting to me is, why are we finally hearing this after 25 years? I kind of feel like, too, as fans or anybody is trying to find a reason of why there's no hitting in this park. And this is the newest thing. This is the hot story, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, well, what's the excuse? Like, what's the flavor of the week? And now it's the batter's eye. The home plate is crooked, doesn't line up to the mound. There's too much light coming in off the hitter. But I mean, yeah, it's 25 years, and then we're just hearing about it now. It makes no sense. And then if it's an issue, then let's fix it in the off season. I don't know, lose a couple thousand seats and whatever, make the changes the hitters are asking for, and let's see what happens. But doubtful that's going to happen. But it's strange that it's just all of a sudden popping up now, like it's some big secret that none of the players want to talk about. I don't see that to be quite accurate.
Yeah, it's kind of like, move over, Marine Layer. We got a new one, right? And just to quote him, he said, "Unfortunately, I didn't feel the way I wanted to feel when I was playing at home, which was T-Mobile Park. When I say that, it's not about the fans. It's not about the team or the front office or anybody that has to do with the team. For some reason, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't feel good at the plate at home. I talked to a lot of players around the league, and they feel the same thing when they go to Seattle to play for 2 or 3 games over there. They have the same feeling. So it's not only me. I didn't feel straight with the pitcher for some reason. I moved everywhere in the batter's box and I tried to fix it, but I couldn't figure it out." So yeah, well, I wonder if they're gonna do anything about it. I know at one point there was something with the paint, and that was a bit glossy. I remember
Yeah.
something about that, but I think they changed the paint. But
Yeah, because I think there was trees and stuff back there. They cut the trees out and then they made it like matte black. What I'd love to see is like an interview with like Griffey, Egger, Ichiro to ask them about this, if they had the same feelings, because that would kind of, you know,
or let's ask Mike Trout.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
didn't seem to bother Mike Trout. I don't know
No.
what, 54 home runs against the Mariners. I
Yeah.
think 32 of them are at T-Mobile Park or something like that. I might be off
Why
by.
then why don't we just make an adjustment? Just have the thing closed. Who cares?
Yeah,
Easier
it's
to hit in a closed stadium.
yeah, it's just another new thing. It's just another black eye. But I just kind of thought it was funny that the we're celebrating T-Mobile Park, and then this is the top
Yeah.
story. Okay,
Yeah.
somebody just
Welcome home. Welcome home.
happy birthday. Now I'm gonna bitch slap you.
Yeah.
And now everybody's going, that's the reason, that's what's going on. But what's interesting too is that it's a pitcher's ballpark. So if you change it, then are we gonna be bitching about it? You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, the Mariners pitch a lot better at home, and they hit quite a bit
Better on the
better
road.
on the road, and that's just it. But I want to say that's the personnel we have right now. I don't know.
NBC Sports presents the 1979 All-Star Game from Seattle's Kingdome. It's the All-Stars of the National League versus the best of the American League. The 1979 All-Star Game is brought to you by Chrysler Corporation. See the mileage makers at your Dodge or Chrysler Plymouth dealers. And by the newest member of Gillette's All-Star Team, foamy tropical coconut shave cream. Every shave is like a trip to the tropics. And by the Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. And by Polaroid, makers of the SX70 Sonar, the world's smartest camera.
Our Seattle Mariner fingerprints on this All-Star game, there wasn't any.
Yeah,
Logan,
non-existent. Yeah.
Logan did not pitch. He's going to pitch this weekend against Houston. Fine with that. Andres Munoz gets added to the team probably because Logan wasn't going to play. Then Munoz doesn't play.
Yeah,
As a Mariners
I saw
fan,
Munoz, like his family drove 13 hours or something to see him.
see
Not
him
play.
tip his cap. Yeah,
Yes.
there's a great art. I guess Luis Castillo buying him a watch.
Yeah,
His
that's a big story.
family.
That,
Yeah,
yep,
he's gonna have to sell that
that
watch.
was Logan. He bought Logan a watch.
Oh, he bought Logan a watch. Did he
Yeah,
buy Munoz a watch?
I'm not sure on that, but I know I saw Logan had the watch from Castillo.
Yeah, I don't think anybody in the bullpen's got that kind of money. So if he's gonna get a watch like that, it's gonna be from Munoz. Because I was gonna say, if Munoz got that watch, his family is probably, you better sell that watch for this gas money that
Yeah,
that he drove. But yeah, as a Mariners fan, I don't know. It just felt weird because the Mariners just had no mentions except for ex players that were, in the game. But also, we had our all-star fix last year here at
that's true.
T-Mobile Park. And, to be brutally honest, it was kind of tough even having anybody on the Mariners on that team. I mean, like Castillo got put on because we had to have one person. Then yes, Kirby was
Yeah,
warming up, and A-Rod was already the face of the All-Star
Julio.
game.
Julio.
Sorry. Julio was the face of the All-Star, being the ambassador and everything like that. So maybe it's one of these things. Also, you could look at it this way of, fucking Bruce Bochy, that Rangers manager. But at the end of the day, guess what? None of our players got hurt. They got the
Yep.
rest needed. He's also been, I think he's fine with this back thing. I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. They
Yeah.
got their pictures, they got their checks, they got their watches, they got the
Yeah.
shit.
It would be interesting to see in the past All-Star games for teams that were in first place in a division having no one play in the All-Star game. How often that's happened?
It's probably never happened. But this is probably a new record. You're
Yeah.
right. Another topic, it's been a topic all season long, is the uniforms, and the all-star uniforms down there. You either loved them or you hated them. It seemed like more thumbs downs than usual. Me personally, I kind of liked them. I thought they were kind of cool. I like the old school lettering. It was kind of that old like Wild Wild West lettering. Kind of remind me of the lettering that you'd see on some of the old uniforms, maybe even the Negro League, the writings. I liked it. They looked better on the field on the players than what you're seeing, like maybe when you're scrolling through Instagram and seeing it. But yeah, there isn't like I mean, I don't know. I would say I preferred the National League's ones more, but it's brought up this discussion that now Major League Baseball is considering bringing back just the players wearing their uniforms. They might wear those for the workout uniforms, but during the game, just wearing, whether you're home or away, your own uniforms. And I know you're a big collector of uniforms and gear, so take it away.
Yeah, for me, I did like the jersey setup this year. The one thing I didn't necessarily care for is the hats. Like I don't really like the white paneling in front. Like, so I would prefer to have a darker color in front. I did like the jerseys last year. I know you're not a big fan of them, but I liked kind of the concept for being Seattle. So of course I have that. I'm not getting one this year because I don't know who I would get because we don't really have anyone worth buying from a Mariners standpoint, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I think they look pretty cool. And like you said, if you're just looking at them online, I think you'd probably have a different opinion than actually see them on the field. And from an opinion on wearing them during the game, I think it makes sense. I mean, I hope they keep it where they're wearing like the American League nationally. I think it's kind of cool versus having all the different jerseys.
See, the argument that people have is like it's the same jersey, but then you're only adding a patch. But some people think
Yeah.
those patches are cool, but it is kind of basic. I do like the fact that there is a all-star jersey.
Yep. Agreed.
Now they've always kind of had that, right? They've always kind of had like if you think about Griffey in some of the home run derbies, he's wearing the American League thing.
Yeah. But you never saw it. You never saw it other than that.
You never saw that except for that was just the workout. And then you would but I think the concept is, hey, we're all one team today, so we should be in a uniform all together, which I get. But listen, they're going to keep pumping out more shit. I mean, so I kind of find that hard that they're not going to do this. I think it might possibly go back to they wear the same. I mean, you wear your respected uniforms during the game, but nowadays, like certain teams, if you're like, hey, we're all wearing the road grays here for the away team. I mean, the Mariners don't have a road gray, so what do you do there? And some teams wear solid tops at home. So that kind of tradition is gone unless you're, the Yankees or the Red Sox or something like that, or the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm from a business standpoint, I couldn't see them reducing jerseys, right? They want to sell, the Fanatics want to sell as many jerseys as possible. So I see them making more jerseys than less jerseys. So I think it's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah. And I just want to go on record going, my favorite all-star jerseys probably in the last 25 years. There's some that tug at my heartstrings from the 90s. Is it was the 2022 the LA Dodgers hosted All-Star game. Those were my favorite ones. Those were pretty clean, and that was the year they didn't really print very many of them.
That's right. I was trying to get a Julio one, and I still don't have one. But yeah.
I know you're gonna have to jack somebody. That's the only way you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
I mean, his current playing, I might be able to get a discount on eBay. We'll see.
Yeah, and if he heats it up, you have to go the old school way, find somebody your size and take them down.
Exactly.
But something fun to go. I don't know if it's fun. It's funny. It's sad. It's noteworthy. We didn't talk about it the other night. That was the one thing that we forgot to talk about. Was this, how do you say her name? Ingrid Address.
Yes. Yeah.
Ingrid Andress. I don't know. Is she a country
I
singer?
don't know. I've never heard of her before. I don't know what her genre is.
Well, first of all, let's see what she does.
Yeah, well, too.
Country music.
Yep.
So Ingrid how do you say her name? Andress? Ingrid Elizabeth Andress, American country singer-songwriter. Okay. Nonetheless, National Anthem, man, that was rough. I wouldn't suspect that she was wasted or drunk. She now says she was. Now, the very next day, she put herself into rehab, so she didn't even stick around for the All-Star game. But listen, a lot of people get fucked up at these derbies. I remember last year being down at Tacos and Tequila, and there were some wasted people during the home run derby. I mean, they were throwing people out left and right. There are so many drunks down there that they closed their doors and did not have the after game. But listen, if you are a talent singing the national anthem, I mean, man, her friends, whatever, managers or whomever's
fire everyone.
Oh my God. And also, if I was her, I don't know if I'd admit that I was drunk. I'd been like, yeah, it was a terrible stylistic choice I took. But then knowing this and then going back and watching it now, all of those signs are right there. And I do have to admit, Vlad said right away when we were watching it, he goes, she's wasted. And I was like, I don't know. I think kind of like a stylistic thing. Because I remember when Fergie tried to jazz up her thing. I still think the Carl Lewis one is the worst. Roseanne Barrs was pretty bad, but again, that was a stylistic choice of grabbing her crotch and spitting. People tried to say she was spitting in America. She was she was saying that she was just mimicking baseball players, grabbing their crotches and spitting tobacco. But again, why would you do that?
Yeah,
That was the original Hawk too, right?
that's right.
But wow. I mean, I don't know how you live this down. It's the national anthem. You're not just doing this at a Oakland A's Tampa Bay Rays game in Oakland or Tampa where nobody. This is the All-Star Game Home Run Derby. Your recording company probably fought to get you in this. You get drunk, you do this. This is going to be, I mean, it's forgivable. I don't,
Yeah,
but it's going to be unforgettable. Anytime that somebody else screws up the national anthem
we'll point to that.
or does something publicly intoxicated, this is the new one, and it's probably not going anywhere.
No. For her though, I think, if she's gonna go to rehab, that's great. She'll come back out probably, I don't know what, 6 months to a year, and probably no one will care. I mean, she'll make music and that'll be it. But then, like you said, if there's another mess up, then she'll definitely get put back on blast.
Yeah, you do an Oprah interview, you're all good. But yeah, I guess now they're probably having breathalyzers, right? For anybody singing the national anthem, like, hey, you got to blow on this before you go out there and thing. Well, anyways, Houston Astros coming into town. I look, this is the pressure cooker of a weekend. We saw a couple of years ago Astros come in here and sweep us on a Julio-less team. But I do feel like the Mariners have closed the gap. If you look at what the Mariners are doing and the Astros are doing in their last 10, Astros are one game better at 6-4. Mariners playing 5-5. But the Mariners get to set their rotation in a T-Mobile Park that is a terrible place for hitters, according to Teoscar Hernandez. So I'm thinking the Mariners can get 2 or 3 right here. You get 2 or 3 right here, and then you're playing Oakland, and I think you're playing Chicago White Sox after that. And then
I think it's the Angels. The Angels after the Astros.
Oh, who did I say? Chicago?
Yeah. Oakland. I said Oakland, but yeah, it's the Angels.
Okay, and so after you get through at the Astros, you look here, you got 3 with the Angels at home, then you go to Chicago for 3, and then you got a Red Sox team though after that's been playing some really good baseball. But you do have an opportunity here if you can handle your business with Houston at home to, you would hope, take care of business against these teams that you should. So, I mean,
yeah. And the Astros, I mean, if you look at the Astros after us, right, they play the A's, but then they go to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers go to Houston, and then they have the Pirates who, the Pirates have been playing some decent ball well. So we can handle our business. We should be in a good spot at the end of July.
I hope when we play Pittsburgh in August, we don't face that pitcher.
Skeens.
Skeens and the Mariners have a no-hitter like recipe just waiting for you, right?
Oh, totally.
And they were talking about all the strikeouts last night in the All-Star game, and I was like, man, imagine if these pitchers were pitching against the Mariners hitters like current. I was like, all right, that's one last dig on the Mariners offense in the first half. Look, we're happy. They got a 1-game lead going into kicking off the second half. You got the team that you need to make some more room with in town, and let's just hope that the Texas Rangers kind of back off. They're only 5 back. I think it is a 3-team race right now in the AL West.
Yep, I agree. Just got to go out there and make some contact,
Yep. Well, that's our show. We will be back though tomorrow with another episode, a Wake and Bake episode. So that'll be me and DJ Vladdy Daddy, aka Vladimir Perez. Be talking some more Mariner stuff, some AL East stuff, a lot of AL stuff, maybe a little bit more about the All-Star game. Might have a couple other comedians on the show. So that'll be out Friday. Again, thanks for liking, subscribing, and all that good shit. And listen, if you see the sweatshirt and you're like, damn, I want to be down with the rye bread, I want that street cred, hit up at simply.cora. That's at simply.cora. All right, with that being said, Hanno, You know what time it is.
Charge.